On Tuesday, French authorities raided the offices of Elon Musk's X in Paris as part of an investigation into suspected unlawful data extraction and complicity in the possession of CSAM. Calling the move a political attack, Musk was quickly put in his place by France's Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs, which replied to Musk suggesting he had used CSAM for political theatre on X, and adding, maybe that logic flies on some island, doesn't fly in France. This came just a few days after France's Prime Minister, Sébastien Lecornu, asked French ministries to ditch the US video platform Zoom and shift to Vizio, a French alternative, by the end of the year. And also after the French government blocked the French satellite operator Eutelsat from selling its ground antenna to a private equity firm to protect European digital autonomy, with Eutelsat being the only European competitor to Elon Musk's Starlink. So in this video, we'll explain why France is ditching American tech, and whether the rest of Europe might follow suit. If you love staying informed and want some of the best reporting on YouTube, then subscribe and ring the bell for more. Let's get straight into it and explain why France is ditching American tech. In a nutshell, it's about building European digital sovereignty. In other words, increasing Europe's ability to develop, control and govern its own digital services and infrastructure without being overly dependent on foreign services. At the moment, according to a report by the Bertelsmann Stiftung, the EU is highly dependent on non-EU countries, mainly the US and China, for more than 80% of its digital technologies and infrastructure. To give a concrete example, the US giants Amazon, Microsoft and Google dominate almost 70% of the European cloud computing market, while the EU's biggest cloud provider holds just 2%. Nor does the EU look likely to catch up anytime soon, given it also lags behind both the US and China in terms of digital research and development, or R&D spending, representing just 7% of global R&D in software and internet technologies, compared to 71% by US firms and 15% by Chinese firms. Like with other critical dependencies, this creates strategic risks for the EU. However, unlike with physical goods, where the EU can switch to another provider if a supplier fails or becomes unreliable, as happened following Russia's invasion of Ukraine when the EU rapidly pivoted away from Russian oil and gas to other sources of energy, digital dependencies create different and more complex kinds of risks. Because digital services are ongoing relationships, rather than a single product that's shipped and received in a done deal, the supplier can change the terms, prices, features, or access of their services after adoption, giving them significant and continuous control over foreign export markets. For instance, in the early days of advertising on Facebook, many European businesses initially built marketing strategies around the platform's organic reach, but changes to the algorithm then drastically reduced visibility and pushed firms towards paid ads, effectively changing market access without negotiations. As such, in recent months, there's been a growing push for the EU to build up its digital autonomy, both to regain control over its data and to limit the impact of foreign, especially American, tech companies on information flows. Having previously criticised the European Commission in November for being too slow in enforcing its tech rules, French President Emmanuel Macron used his Davos speech last month to call for a ramping up of European investment into critical technologies like AI, quantum computing, and defence and security. Then, last week, French cybercrime authorities raided X's office in Paris as part of an investigation into unlawful data extraction and the suspected abuse of algorithms, and prosecutors have summoned X-owner Elon Musk and former chief executive Linda Yaccarino for questioning in April. Aside from that, France has also ordered its state employees to switch to Vizio, a French alternative to the American video conferencing platform Zoom, by the end of the year, to, quote, guarantee the security, confidentiality and resilience of public electronic communications, with the Vizio project ultimately aimed at creating a French alternative to the US's Microsoft Office or Google Suite. Other EU countries are also taking steps to reduce their dependencies on American tech in sensitive areas. The Austrian military has reportedly ditched Microsoft Office, while the German state of Schleswig-Holstein has moved some 40,000 state workers' email from Microsoft Exchange and Outlook to open-source alternatives. So the question now is, will the rest of Europe follow France's lead? Well, last week, the European Parliament passed a resolution calling on member states to, quote, strengthen European technological sovereignty by facilitating the procurement of European digital products and services where possible. This echoes calls for European digital autonomy from figures like Macron and the former head of the European Central Bank, Mario Draghi, whose 2024 report on improving European competitiveness also called for further digitization to help the EU catch up with the US and China. Moreover, back in September, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen used her 2025 State of the Union address to push for European digital sovereignty and proposed an EU Cloud and AI Development Act, now in the very early stages, aimed at strengthening Europe's capacities in AI and cloud infrastructure. This growing push for European digital sovereignty also follows the US's repeated attempts to punish the EU for its efforts to regulate American tech. In late December, the Trump administration imposed travel bans on Europeans involved in digital safety, including former EU Commissioner Thierry Breton, who played a key role in establishing the EU's digital rules. In August, Trump threatened tariffs on countries that discriminate against American tech firms, and the US has also repeatedly challenged the EU's digital rules through diplomatic pressure and aggressive rhetoric. While the EU's regulatory policies are motivated more by concerns about user welfare and online safety than digital sovereignty, this ongoing battle between EU and US big tech firms reveals the degree of European anxiety about the continent's reliance on American tech. All that said, de-risking from US tech won't be easy, and a total decoupling is probably impossible given the global reach and dominance of US tech. Nonetheless, de-risking is a matter of degree, and if Europe can at least nurture some homegrown alternatives, this will be enough to break the monopolistic hold US tech currently enjoys. One proposal to achieve this is the creation of a European Sovereign Tech Fund, similar to Germany's Sovereign Tech Fund, made up of EU funds, contributions from member states and private sector investment that would provide financing for critical open source software infrastructure across Europe. While this would likely involve some heated debates at the EU level about joint financing, the argument proponents are making is that the cost of inaction now could be far higher than any short-term economic pain involved in building European digital sovereignty, particularly as the US becomes an even more unpredictable partner. Now, this is a big story, and amongst every other big story happening right now, you might feel powerless in the current climate. The problems feel massive, and individual actions can feel meaningless. But what if we told you that you could be part of something bigger, something that actually turns concern into action? Well, that's where our friends at Planet Wild come in. Planet Wild isn't just your usual environmental organisation. It's a passionate community built around a clear focus, protecting and conserving the world we all live in. We're more aware than ever that the world is a scary place, and the state of our planet needs change. So, every single month, the Planet Wild community funds a mission to protect endangered animals, restore our forests, and clean our oceans. They document all these missions in videos here on YouTube, so we can see exactly what we've helped to achieve. The impact we've made will be right before our eyes. From cleaning up Mumbai's plastic river to protecting Europe's last ancient forest, and even saving elephants with the help of bees, Planet Wild will stop at nothing to make the world a better place for every living being on it. So, where do you and I come in? Well, by becoming a member, we're directly funding a brand new nature mission from the comfort of our own home. We support, they execute. If you want to join the growing community making a real difference, Planet Wild is the place to be. Big or small, your difference matters, and you can contribute as little as $6 a month to help protect nature. We're big fans of Planet Wild, so much so that the first 100 people to use code NEWSEU2 will get their first month paid for by us. Just scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the description. By joining today, you'll immediately make a difference and even be able to see your impact in less than 30 days on YouTube right here. You can cancel your membership at any time, so there's absolutely no catch, just an easy and remarkable way to create real and lasting change. If you want to see them in action, check out their mission at cleaning up Mumbai's plastic river.